Hi.
Hello. Just tell me.
Hi, Shanmugh.
Hello, hello.
Shanmugh, notes.
Sorry.
Morning running notes.
Yes. I'll share that one. I'll share that. Guys, I just posted one that Google Drive link, and I mean to say that sheet. We have the tracker, right? The tracker link. So those who joined newly, they can just add this as a bookmark. Okay, so you can update this tracker, guys. Okay. Some of you have already added in the tracker. Like those who joined recently, they can access this tracker and they can update the status. Okay. Don't change anything in the tracker. Don't change your names. Okay. If you want to add, you can add the comments and all. Okay. You can add the remarks and all, but don't change your names and all. Right? Fine, guys. The same tracker, guys. Those who joined recently, for them, I just posted in the chat. Okay. So let me post the morning rough notes. Okay. Okay. So I just shared the morning class notes. You can just copy paste, guys. In our chat, it is there. You can just copy paste. Fine. So let's continue the discussion. Okay. So in the morning, we discussed about the services. Okay. So when you install the SQL Server, what kind of services will be installed? Okay. How many services will be installed? What is the importance of each service? Where we can see the services? How to stop the service, how to start the service, how to restart the service. Okay. How to connect to the instance. If it is a default instance, how to connect. If it is a named instance, sorry. If it is a, 1 minute. If it is a named instance, how to connect to the instance. If it is a named instance, how we can connect, guys? How we can connect if it's a named instance?
Computer name
Default instance,
slash
generally we can give computer name. For named instance, what is the name of the instance? Yeah, someone is saying.
computer name slash named instance name.
Okay, so
backward slash.
yeah, computer name backward slash instance name. Okay, so that's how you have to connect to the named instance. So I'll give you one more assignment, guys. I'm just updating the sheet. Okay, so install SQL Server named instance. Okay, install SQL Server named instance. I just added in our sheet, in our tracker. In the next sheet you can find. Okay, in the next sheet you can find, guys. Let me drag this. You can see, right? Right. In the next sheet, this is our tracker, regular tracker. In the assignment section, I just added that one. Okay. Install SQL Server named instance. One instance you can install. Any name, you can give any name. Okay. So that is the assignment for the next class. Install SQL Server named instance. And I just asked one more question in our morning session. Like the play button, like you can see, right? This one, play button. Sometimes we cannot see this. We can just see the white circle, or we can just see the question mark. So what is the reason? I guess 2-3 people replied. So what about others? Anyone tried? What is this called, guys? What is this called? Any idea? What is this icon called? What is this icon?
Running.
Okay. So this is called service watcher. Okay. What is this, guys? Service watcher. Service watcher. Okay, so this is called service watcher, like it is going to watch the service, right? So service watcher, guys. Okay, So sometimes you can see green button, green play button. Sometimes you can see red stop button. Sometimes you can see a question mark. Sometimes you can see circle. So what is the reason why? Any idea? No one will ask you guys. This is like kind of extra knowledge. That's it. Sometimes we'll get an eye, like when we are working in the organization. So we'll see why we are getting question mark, why we are getting the circle, white circle, why, what is the reason? We'll get some kind of questions, right? So for that, I'm just asking. No one will ask about this in the interviews. Okay. Any idea why?
Means running. It
Sorry?
is like green means the server is
Yeah,
a
green means service, service is running.
white means any problem with
Red
the
means it stopped. So that we know. Question
Yeah.
mark. What is question mark? If it is showing question mark, okay. So is it working properly? Is it working perfectly fine, or it's not working?
It's not working, I think.
no idea about question mark.
Okay. So no issues. I mean to say, even though if you can see question mark or white circle, it's properly up and running, guys. No issues with that instance. Why we can say Shanmukh depends upon the account that you are using while opening the SSMS. If you don't have administrator privileges, generally you can see a white space or question mark. That is one reason. Second reason is in the morning we discussed, if the server is in one machine and you are connecting from another machine, right? Remote connections. The SQL Server is installed in one machine. Imagine if it was installed in 254 machine, and in the 253 machine, you are connecting to the 254 SQL Server. Okay, means you are doing a remote connections that is hosted in another box. In such scenarios also, you can see a question mark or a white circle. Okay, it don't show you any status. It don't show you green play button or red stop button or question mark. It will simply show you a white circle. A white circle. Sometimes you can see a white circle. Sometimes you can see a question mark. Why? Because depends upon the account that you are using to connect to the instance. Okay. So, and one more reason is in case if you are connecting to the remote instance that is hosted in another box, you are connecting to another instance from another box, it will take, I mean to say, it don't have permissions to update the status. Okay. So that's why it will simply show you question mark, white circle, not at all a problem, guys. Okay. So even if it is showing question mark, don't think it's not working fine. So it's perfectly working fine. It's unable to, okay, read the status from the other server. That is the only thing. Okay. So even though you can see a question mark, not at all an issue. Even though you can see a white circle here, that is also not a problem. If you see play button, of course, it's perfectly fine. But if you cannot see that play button, if you can see a stop button, then that is a problem. Remaining all cases, it's perfectly fine, guys. No issues at all. Okay, fine. Right. So in the morning session, we discussed about the services that are going to be created when you install the SQL Server. Right. So now we'll discuss what and all folders will be created when you install the SQL Server. What and all folders will be created when you install the SQL Server. Whenever you install any software, generally in the Windows machine, whenever you install any software in the program files, one folder will be created with that particular software name. Okay. If you install Avesta antivirus, one folder will be created with the Avesta antivirus. If you install some other software, one folder will be created with that particular software. If you install Zoom, one folder will be created. Why? Because all the Zoom supported files and all will be installed in that particular machine. So like when I installed SQL Server in our previous sessions, it just created one folder called Microsoft SQL Server. So when you open, you can see this path, right? C program files Microsoft. So this path is called instance. What is this path, guys?
Instance directory.
Okay. So this is called instance root directory. That is the root, guys. Okay. That is called instance root directory. That path is called instance root directory. When you open that particular folder, you can see different folders with numbers. You can see folders with names and all. Okay, right. So this is also important. These are also important folders, guys. I told you in our early discussions, we discussed about the binaries folders, right? So when you install SQL Server, a version of SQL Server, any particular version, so a folder will be created with that, what we can say, a compatibility. We can say this is a compatibility folder. A folder will be created with that particular version compatibility, guys. As you installed SQL Server 2019, you can see here, right? As you installed SQL Server 2019, okay, so it just created 150 folder. And we have also discussed in our earlier discussions that Shanmukh, why we have 80, 90, 110. Why? Because the base features, the main features, what are there, those are all features will be carried using these folders. If you can see 80, 90, 110, that means don't think we have installed SQL Server 2000, 2005, 2012. 80 means 2000, right? 8.0. 90 means 2005, 9.0. 110 means SQL Server 2012. I haven't installed 2000, 2005, 2012, but still I can see the folders of those particular versions. Why? Because the main features and all, the main features, the main binaries and all will be carried in the installation of setup files. We have that during the installation, you can see setup files will be installed, right? So the main features and all will be copied using this 80, 90, 110 folders. So even though you install SQL Server 2016, even though you install 2019, even though you install 2022, still you can see 80, 90, 110 folder. These are the base folders, guys. Whatever features, the main features, 110 means SQL Server 2012, right? So SQL Server 2012 is an important version. So like always on feature and all has been introduced from SQL Server 2012 only, SQL Server 2012. So the main features, okay, will be carried using the base folder. So that's why you can still see 80, 90, 110 folder. And the recent folder 150 belongs to a SQL Server 2019. These folders you can call it as instance binaries. What is this path, guys? Instance binaries. Okay, this is called the numbering folders. You can call it as a instance binaries. Okay, so in the numbering folder, if you go and check in the numbering folder, you can see, okay, setup bootstrap folder, which is very important, guys. Okay, in the binaries, instance binaries, there is a folder called setup bootstrap folder, which is very important. So if you go inside the setup bootstrap folder, you can see log folder. If you go inside the log folder, you can see the folders with the date and timestamps. So do you know when it will be created, guys? Any guess, any idea when it will be created?
When we install the
If we install.
SQL Server.
Correct. When you install the SQL servers, these folders will be created with the date and timestamp. Today it was created 4/11/2023. Okay, underscore 8/08/1735, right? And 4/11/2023, same 19/21/46, and 4/11/2023, 19/30/22. Means this is server time, guys. This is server time, you can see here. Okay, so now you can see there is a very important file called summary.txt file. I told you, right? If the installation is failed, you'll get an interview question, guys. This is the interview question. Okay, so if the installation is failed, where to check? Okay, if the installation is failed, where to check? That is the interview question. You will get it from the installation. So listen carefully. Not only the installations, okay, if the installations, patchings, upgradations, okay, remove patchings, uninstallation of patchings or remove patchings, and uninstallation of SQL Server. In all these 5 scenarios, installation of SQL servers, patching the SQL server, when you are removing the forget about patching, I'll tell you guys, there is a separate class. We have 2 classes for patching, so we'll discuss about the patching. When we are removing the patching or whatever update, patching is nothing but as of now update. when we are upgrading the SQL Server, when we are uninstalling the SQL Server. In these 5 scenarios, summary.txt file will be generated. This is very important log file. In what scenarios will get this summary.txt file, guys? During the installations of SQL Server, during the patching of SQL Server, during the removing updates of SQL servers, upgradations and uninstallation of SQL servers. In these 5 scenarios, one file will be created. That file is called summary.txt file. This is a log file. We can say this is a primary log file, guys. This is a primary log file. Log means what? What is meant by logbook, guys? What is logbook? What is logbook? Log. I hope you heard about this logbook, right? Log. What is log?
Record of activity.
Correct. Record. Each and everything it is going to record, guys. If you go to any library, you can see the logbook. If you go to any apartment, you can see one logbook at the security gate. What it will be in the logbook? You can see who is coming, who is going, at what time they came, on what purpose they came, when they are going to leave, when they left. Every information, their phone number, emergency contact number, to whom they came to meet. Okay, everything will be logged inside the particular logbook. Why, guys? Why they will maintain that particular book? What is the reason? And if you go to any library, you can see the student ID, okay, and library card, and you can see what and all books he took, and how many days, since how many days the books are with him, any penalties, any fines, everything you can see, right, in the library logbook. Why we need that, guys? What is the reason? What is the reason, guys? Why we need logbook?
Track of.
Tracker. It's a kind of tracker. In case if something goes wrong, we should be able to track it, right? Right. For example, if in the apartment case, if something goes wrong with that visitor, we should be able to track, right? In the same way, in the library case also, if that guy took the books and he is not returning the books, we should be able to track him, right? We can by using his mobile number and all, we can call to him and we can ask when he is going to return the books. We can send a message, right? We can just send a notification. So everything is possible. So it's a kind of a tracker, guys. It's a kind of a tracker. In the same way, while installing the SQL Server, while patching the SQL Server, while removing the patchings, while uninstalling the SQL servers, so you should know that what's going on exactly in the backend, so that we can track if it was failed, if the installation was failed, we can track it using the summary.txt file, right? So summary.txt file is a log file, guys. In this log file, everything will be tracked. And if you go and check this log file now, this is our installation log file. So you can see here, this is how you have to read the log file. So you can see the final result as passed. Passed means successful. What is the action that we did, guys? Installation of SQL Server. You can see the machine name here, processor count here. You can see on what Windows servers you installed the SQL Server. You can see the OS region, OS time, x64-bit. Okay, OS architecture, process architecture. You can see lot of things you can see, and you can also see what package he installed, what product he installed, RTM. What is the version of that product? What is the edition of that product? Okay, what action he did, and you can see here add current user SQL admin. Okay, add current user SQL admin. User only, right? Yeah, a SQL admin. You can see here. So a lot of things you can see, service account passwords and startup type. You can see lot of things in the logs, guys. You can see here the program files where the configuration file was created. You can see here. So in the last class we discussed about the configuration file.ini, right? So you can see the configuration file.ini in this path, guys. Nothing will happen, Vinay. There is no meaning of editing this log file. It's not going to play any key role. It will just help you to check where is the problem. That's it. Even though you edit, nothing will happen. Okay, it's not a current live tracker. Okay, so that if you edit something, the SQL server will be affected. Nothing like that. Okay, so it is a kind of a log, just a log, what happened exactly during the installation. In case if it was successful, we can check. If it was failed, we can check where is the problem, what is the error and all. Nothing will happen if you can edit the log file, but there is no use of editing. What kind of editing you want to do to this file? What you want to add? Right, okay. So you can type your answer in the chat. Right, so this is the configuration file, that INI file, INI location also it will show you, okay? INI file location also it will show you. And what and all components you installed, features, what and all components you installed, SQL engine, replication, full text, this is like your connection, that backward compatibility, client tools connectivity, backward compatibility, client tools SDK, client connectivity SDK. Okay, these are the these three are specific features and these four are shared features, guys. These four are shared features. Like someone tried installing SQL Server 2022. Actually, in the SQL Server 2022, yes, nothing will happen. You can edit. Okay, you can edit whatever you want. You can edit, but it's not good way. Why? Because everyone is going to track the summary.txt file, guys. So to track it, it's very important. So that's why no one will generally edit this file. Okay. Right. So these are the components that we have installed, guys. Okay. These are the components that we have installed, and everything you can see here to which location we have installed. Everything we can see, we can track it, and what kind of service accounts it's used. Okay. Everything you can track it, guys. Okay. You can see whether every component is installed or not. Full text passed. Passed means installed. Database engine passed. SQL replication passed. Browser passed. Writer passed. Client tools connectivity. Client tools backward compatibility, client tools SDK, client tools connectivity, SQL client connectivity SDK, SQL client connectivity. So all the components are successfully passed, and rules with failures or warnings. So you can see the Windows firewall is enabled. So you can see some reviews and all you can see, guys. So this is how you can generally track it. As of now, we don't have any issues right in the installation. That's why you don't see any errors. In case if you face any issues while installing the SQL Server, that information, in case if it was failed to install the SQL Server, that information, why it was failed to install the SQL Server, that information you can find it in the summary.txt file. Summary.txt file is the primary log file that we can track for installations, patchings, remove patchings, upgradations, uninstallation of SQL servers, guys. Okay, so in case if anyone is asking where to check the installation related errors, where to check the patching related errors, upgradation related errors, uninstallation related errors, the first answer should be your summary.txt file, right? And right. So in case if there is no valid information, for example, your installation is failed, you have checked the summary.txt file, nothing found. You can see some basic information. You don't see a complete information. So that is not useful. That information which is present in the summary.txt file is not useful. Imagine I'm saying, generally you will get an idea why it was failed. In case if it was failed, you can see why it was failed and all in the summary.txt file. In case if you don't have enough information in the summary.txt file, we have one more file called detailed.txt. What is that file, guys? Detailed.txt. Detailed.txt file. In this file, you can see complete information about the installations, upgradations, patchings, uninstallations, everything you can see. Where we can see that installation, go to the same setup bootstrap folder, log folder, open the recent timestamp folder. Open the recent timestamp folder. You can see if I open this one, you can see here a file called detail. Okay, so just open this detail file. So very big file. You cannot even read the complete file also. You can read it, but it's a very big one. Okay, you can see lot of information in the detail.txt file. So in case if you don't find enough information in the summary.txt file, so where we can see, guys, what is the next step? We have to check the detail.txt file in the setup bootstrap log folder under date and timestamp recent folder. We can see the detail.txt. So Shanmukh, so do I need to read the whole file to check the error? Generally not required. Okay, you can use the Control F button. We have some keywords, right? Failed. We have some keywords like error, okay, exception, like this. You can use this kind of information, exception, and you can use this kind of information to track where is the exact error. And you can also use minus VE. It is a code, guys. Okay, minus hyphen VE. You can say hyphen VE. Hyphen VE, if you use, you can track. Okay, any errors are there, error related information and all. You can track it in the detail.txt. And whenever you see any error, don't only concentrate on the particular line, guys. Yes, you can concentrate the particular line. Along with that, check 5 to 10 lines above and below to the error, so that you will get some idea. You'll get an idea. Okay, so where exactly it's missing. So in case if you see any error, so just keep checking the 5 to 10 lines above the error, keep checking 5 to 10 lines below the error, so that you will get a clarity what's happening, what is the exact error, what is the reason and all. So everything you can check it using your detail.txt file, guys. So we have two files. One is summary.txt file. If you don't find enough information, they will ask you, if I don't find enough information where I can see, you can tell like detail.txt. Immediately he will ask you where we can find detail.txt file or summary.txt file. Under program files, Microsoft SQL Server, binaries, setup bootstrap folder, log folder, in the date and timestamp folder, we can see detail.txt file. And even I told you one more file called configuration file.ini. This is the configuration file.ini. If you open, this is the command to install the SQL Server. Okay, if you open this, this is the command. So at the end of the installation setup, whatever inputs we gave, it will store it in a separate file called configuration file.ini. And when we click install SQL Server, like the Windows machine will call this configuration file.ini into the command prompt, and it will check each and every input, guys. Each and every input it will check, and then it will start installing the SQL Server. So what is the command to install the SQL Server, guys? Okay, in how many ways we can install the SQL Server? Any idea? In how many ways we can install SQL Server?
Auto run,
Auto run. What is auto run?
like when we mount the drive of the ISO, the setup will be opening automatically.
No. Okay. Next.
And through command prompt,
Okay.
and through GUI mode, these three.
Okay. Okay, fine.
.bat files.
Which file? Which file? Batch files. Batch files. Okay.
Bat.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, okay, fine. Right. So we can install the SQL Server using GUI, like we did in the morning, right? The last class, we did the SQL Server installation using GUI, right? Using GUI, we can install the SQL Server, first method. Second method, using CUI, command user interface. Okay, GUI, CUI, command user interface, or command method, command prompt. Using command prompt or command, using command, we can install the SQL Server. That is CUI. And third one is using INI file. Using INI file. This is called INI based installation. What is this, guys? INI based installation. And fourth one is slipstream method. What is this? Slipstream method. And fifth one is sysprep method. And sixth one is PowerShell method. Okay. We have many ways to install the SQL Server. We just install using GUI. In the morning, we just install using, but GUI, Windows machine don't understand what is GUI. This GUI will convert that into command. That command will run when you click install button. Getting my point, guys? So we can install SQL Server using GUI, CUI, INI based installation, slipstream installation, sysprep installation, PowerShell. Slipstream installation means you can install SQL Server with the updates. We can install SQL Server with updates like service packs, cumulative updates and all. Means SQL Server installation and cumulative update. SQL Server installation and service pack. We can install both at a time. To save the time, we can install SQL Server Service Pack RTM. I mean to say SQL Server software like RTM copy. Along with that, we can also install the update that is called slipstream method. That is called slipstream method. Sysprep means the installation will be done in two parts. Okay, two parts. We are not going to discuss these things, guys. Okay, we don't need it actually. Everyone will use GUI only. And users, they don't ask, please install the CUI or command method and all. They don't ask you guys. They will ask you to install the SQL Server. That is your wish. Which method you are comfortable, you can choose. Generally, GUI only everyone will follow. Okay, so command, in case if your organization more into automation, then the commands will be ready. That command you have to run it in the command prompt to install the SQL Server. And in case if you wish to learn, if you want to learn, Shanmukh, I want to learn, please help me. In case if you are looking like that, so go to YouTube, go to our channel. Okay, so there I have uploaded all the installation methods. Okay, how to install SQL Server using command, how to install SQL Server using INI file, how to install SQL Server using slipstream method, how to install SQL Server using sysprep method. Everything we discuss in our channel. You can go to this search button, go to our channel, and in the search button, installing SQL Server using command. Okay, if you type like this, you can see. Okay, installing SQL Server 2017 using command. What kind of command we can use, how to generate that command, you can see in this video. Okay, and you can also see SQL Server INI based installation, INI based installation. You can see here. Okay, SQL 2008 INI based installation. Okay, you can see here in this video. And slipstream installation. Just type slipstream. You can see advanced slipstream installation part 1. And you can see some Telugu classes where I explained all these things. Okay, installing SQL Server using slipstream methods. You can see here. In our channel only, not others channel. In our channel only we discuss these things. And you can also see sysprep installation. Okay, sysprep installation. So in many ways we can install SQL Server, guys. So you can see introduction to sysprep installation and all. If you have some time, if you want to learn more, okay, you can go and check all these things. You'll get some extra knowledge. But again, no one will ask you, hey, please install using slipstream or sysprep. No one will ask you, but we have different ways of installing the SQL Server. Clear? Right? So this is how we can install the SQL Server, guys. Where is our document? Yeah, these are all different ways. PowerShell means, again, that is also command only. So general command will run it in the command prompt. The same command we can run it in the PowerShell. So here, if you go and check what is the command you can generate from here, guys. Whatever things you can see in the brackets, I mean to say, if you see semicolon, that is a comment. Okay, if you see semicolon in front of the line, that is a comment. You can ignore it. This is a command. Action is equal to install is a command. I accept license terms is a command. Okay, next, this is where you don't see the semicolons, that is a command, guys. We'll club all these things. Okay, and we are going to create one command or manual command and all, and then we can use that command to install the SQL Server, guys. We can use the command to install the SQL Server. If anyone is interested, I'll give you assignment. Let's see how many of you are going to complete that assignment. And where is our tracker? Yeah, install SQL Server using command. Okay, go and check my old videos. You can see how to prepare the command, and you can create a command and you can try to install it. Just try it, guys. Harish, okay. Harish, generally we don't give access to the individual people, okay, for the recordings and all. I'll record it and I'll share it. Okay, fine. So you can just check it, guys, how to install the SQL Server using command and all. That is one more assignment. If you want, you can try to complete it. It's not mandatory, but at least try. You learn some extra stuff and all. Okay, right. Now let's go to our server, and these are the folders will be created when you install the SQL Server, guys. So the first source is, in case of any errors, the first source that you can check is summary.txt file. The second source to check the errors is detail.txt file. What is the third source? What is the third source? Detailed summary.txt.
Configuration file.
Configuration.
Configuration
Yeah,
file. No. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Configuration file is just going to check the command. It is not going to contain any logs. Just to show you, in the morning we discussed about the configuration file, right? Just
Yeah.
to show you how the configuration file will be, I just opened. I just shown you the command. Okay. So using configuration file, we cannot find the logs. Okay, using summary.txt file, and second place is detail.txt file, and third place is application event viewer. Okay, what is that, guys? Event viewer. Event viewer. In the event viewer, we'll have application logs. Okay, so how to check the event viewer? Very important, guys. The event viewer is very important. Most of the cases to troubleshoot will use event viewer also. Windows R, type EVENT VWR. This is the shortcut to open event viewer. Type EVENT event viewer VWR event viewer. Just hit enter. Or else you can just type event viewer in the start button also. It will open. Okay. In the start also you can type event viewer. Okay, so it will open, guys. Right now it's opening. So in the event viewer, expand this, maximize this, and go to Windows logs, go to application logs. There we can see all the application related errors, including SQL Server. Windows logs is a separate log which will be maintained by the Windows machine. Windows logs will be maintained by the Windows machine related to all the applications, not only for SQL Server. Whatever applications you installed in the Windows machine, the event viewer will track each and every application related information, error, everything it will track. What is that place, guys? Event viewer application logs. There you can see lot of logs related to lot of applications. Okay, and you can see the source also. You can see what is the source, guys. What is the source? MS SQL Server. You can see. Shanmukh, I cannot see lot of logs are there. Can you help me? We can filter the error log. Okay, filter current log. I want to filter the errors. I want to filter the critical information. I want to filter a particular source. Lot of applications are there, right? I want to filter only SQL Server related information. So you can just go down and you can see PQRS, go to S section, SQL Server, you can see. Okay, yes, Abba, just missed. Go down. Right, you can see here. SQL browser, you can see SQL browser and all. Along with this, you can also see agent information. Let's go to
MS SQL Server or something.
Yeah, MS SQL. Yeah, MS SQL Server. Okay, you can see the MS SQL Server. You can select this. Along with that, in case if you want to track other errors related to agent and all, you can just go down and you can track SQL related components, whatever SQL related components and all, you can track it, guys. So like this, you can choose the event sources and you can click OK. So only that particular information will be filtered. It will be filtered again. It will be filtered from the lot of events. SQL Server related information can be filtered using the filter current log option, guys. Okay, this is how we can check the errors. So the first source is summary.txt, and the second source is detail.txt, and the third source is event viewer application logs, and you have to filter the current logs using your components. Okay, using your SQL components, you can just filter the current logs. These are the things, these are the places that we have to check during the installation. Same during the installation of SQL Server, uninstallation of SQL Server, patching the SQL Server, remove patching from the SQL Server, and upgrading the SQL Server. Again, I don't tell, guys. Patching and all, again, I don't tell. So I mean, now itself I'm saying, in all these 5 scenarios, we can see the related errors, particular event related errors and all you can see in these 3 places. Okay. Right. So one more thing is, generally, one more thing, this will be discussed during the patching. Okay. Like missing MS and MSPs. This will be discussed during the patchings, guys. This will be discussed during the patching. They will ask you what issues you face till now while installing the SQL Server. Okay, they might ask you this question: what kind of issues you face till now while installing the SQL Server, right? You can tell, generally we'll get one common issue, that is missing MSI and MSP files. Okay, so this will be discussed during the patchings, guys. Fine. Any questions till now? Questions, guys?
Yeah, sure. Thing is that actually, if we install 2 to 3 instance, is the in the same folder only it will be installed, or else any folder name it will be created?
See, very simple. Okay, technically, if you install 2-3 instances also, you cannot install all 2-3 instances at the same time, right?
Yes, yes.
So definitely it will create a date and timestamp folder, right? So now you installed at 7:30. Imagine now you installed a SQL Server at 7:30, right? So that date and timestamp will be 19:30. After this installation, it will take at least 10-15 minutes, right? So after the installation of this first one, again you will start installing the second one. So imagine at 7:45 you are installing the second one. It will create one more folder with the 7:45 date and timestamp. Getting my point? So
Yes.
when you started initializing that particular file, every time it will create a folder. So using that folder, using the timestamp of the folder, you can track the other instance related information also. But always the latest summary file will be here only. Now you can say, I just installed the SQL Server, so I can see SQL Server installation related summary file, right? Now if I patch the SQL Server, this summary file will be replaced with a patching summary file. Whatever the lost action is there on the server, this summary file will be replaced with that lost action. If you did upgradation, then the summary file will be created outside. Outside summary file will be the latest action summary file. The outside summary file will be the latest action. So if you see the summary.txt file, so the latest action is installing the SQL Server 2019, like that you can understand. Okay, sometimes if you patch the SQL Server, again the summary file will go into the timestamp folders. One more summary file will be created for patching. After patching, if you upgrade the SQL Server, again that old summary file will go into the particular date and timestamp folder. One more summary file will be created to the upgradation of the SQL Server. Like while upgrading, one more summary file will be created. In the same way, while remove patching, in the same way, while uninstalling the SQL Server, so the latest summary file will reflect the last action that you did. Either it's the installation, uninstallation, patching, remove patching, upgradation. So the last action you did that contains the old summary file. I mean to say the latest summary file. Other summary file, old summary files and all, you can see the particular date and timestamp folders.
Okay. And if at all in the summary file we can see some of the component got failed. So for troubleshooting, is there separate classes or else?
No. The same thing. Like you have to check what kind of components failed. You can see the error related information you can see, and based on that error, you can start troubleshooting.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Right. Okay, fine. So now what we can do now, guys, let's connect to the instance. Okay. And let's create a database. Okay. Let's create a database. I'm going to close this. This one, right? One more thing. Summary.txt file set a bootstrap. Okay. So if you go out, you can see, okay, one more folder called instance that one is completed, right? Instance root directory, instance binaries, and instance base directory. This is called your instance base directory, guys. Instance base directory. Okay. So again, by using this, we can check what kind of instance installed. Just a minute, just a minute. Right. Okay. So by using this folder, this one, you can identify without opening the SSMS, we can able to find which version of SQL Server you installed, whether it is a named or default instance. What is the name of the instance you can find using this folder. So I asked you to remember one name MS SQL Server during the installation. The instance ID. When you give the instance name, below to that there is an option called instance ID. Anyone remember that option, guys? Instance ID option. So instance ID means this one. Okay, instance ID means this one, guys. So it will create one more folder with a version like 15.0, like the major version, and if it is a default instance, it will create a folder with MS SQL Server. If it's a named instance, it will create a folder with instance name. This is how you can identify the version of the SQL Server and the type of the instance that has been installed in that machine without connecting to the SSMS. Getting my point, guys? Are you getting my point? So I can easily tell by using this folder name, I can tell, okay, 15 means SQL Server 2019 installed. MS SQL Server means it's a default instance. Guys, wherever you see MS SQL Server, it's a default instance. Default instance, while connecting only, it will be computer name. The folders, services will be created with a what name, guys, for a default instance? MS SQL Server.
Yeah.
MS SQL Server. So in the services.ms, if you see MS SQL Server, that's the default instance service. Okay. Right. If you go and check, if you see MS SQL Server in the brackets means that is a default instance service. And in the folders also, if you see MS SQL Server means that is a default instance folder. If it is a named instance, MS SQL 15 dot batch 52 SQL Server, like the instance name you can see in the folder. This is very important folder. All folders are important. This is also an important folder. If you go inside this folder, if you go inside the MS SQL, you can see a lot of folders. Backup folder. In case if you want to take the backups, you can use this folder, the default location for backups. Data folder, you can see lot of files, data files and log files. Okay, so will be discussed in the next, I mean to say, after this session. So you can see some other jobs also, you can see some other important information also. Slowly you'll get to know what folders, what kind of things they are going to do. Main folders are data folder, backup folder, guys. Data folder, backup folder. Data folder contains data files and log files. Will be discussed. Okay, right. So now if you go to Management Studio, generally these are the files and the folders will be created when you install the SQL Server. And we have also discussed about the services. These are the services will be created after the installation of the SQL Server, right? So now let's slowly start with the database concept. Okay, let's start with the database concept. So now I want to create the table. I told you, right, what is SQL Server? SQL Server is a software, database software, which will help you to store the data, process the data, and retrieve the data. So we want to store the data, right? Once we started storing the data, then we can process and then we can retrieve, and also we want to store the data. In what format we can store the data, guys, in the SQL Server? In the SQL Server, in what format data will be stored?
Table format.
Table format. Very good. So where these tables existed, guys? Where these
Database.
tables existed? Very good. Databases. Okay. Where this database will exist?
SQL Server.
In the SQL Server. Okay. So listen carefully. The logical hierarchy and physical hierarchy of the object means table, means how the table will be stored logically and how the table will be stored physically we'll discuss. Okay, how the table will be stored logically and how the table will be stored physically will be discussed, guys. Just a minute. Let me open one diagram. Sorry. Why people are dropping, guys? Is it boring?
No, bro. It's going good.
Motion it was.
No.
Okay. Anyone is watching match? Right.
Yes.
Right. Very good. Just a minute. I'm opening the diagram.
Match is also interesting, like our class.
Class is also more interesting.
Yeah, comparatively.
Yeah. The diagram. Okay, got it. Right. Now you can see my screen, right? Fine. Listen carefully. Very simple architecture, guys. Okay, as of now, we'll just discuss the basic architecture. Don't worry about it. So SQL Server is nothing but an instance, right? SQL Server is nothing but an instance that you can see. So if you go inside the instance, you can see the databases. Okay, databases will be created inside the particular instance. Okay, so in the instance, we can see the database. Database is nothing but collection of data files and log files. What is database, guys? Database is nothing but collection of data files and log files. I'll tell you what is the importance of each file. What a data file will do, what a log file will do, I'll tell you, don't worry. So data files can't exist alone. So data files will be created in the file groups. Okay, there is a concept called file groups. So in the instance, we will have databases. If you go inside the database, you can see file groups and log files. If you go inside the file groups, you can see data files. Okay, you can see data files. We have two types of data files. One is MDF file. Second one is NDF file, master data file, and next are new data file, MDF file and .ndf file. These two are data files. I'll show you. Don't worry. If you go inside the data files, we can see extents. What is extent, guys? Collection of 8 data pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Collection of 8 data pages is called one extent. Getting my point, guys? If you go inside the instance, databases will be there. If you go inside the database, file groups and log files will be there. If you go inside the data file groups, data files will be there. If you go inside the data files, you can see extents. If you go inside the extents, you can see pages. What is this? Pages. Page is a basic storage unit of a SQL server. Again, I'm saying page is nothing but this is a physical hierarchy. Okay. In the instance, we will have databases. In the databases, we will have file groups and a log file. In the file groups, we will have data files. In the data files, we will have extents. Hello. In the extents, we will have pages. So the basic storage unit is called a page, guys. Page is a basic storage unit. Is a basic storage unit of a SQL server. Page is nothing but it's a basic storage unit of a SQL server. Means whenever you are creating a table, at the end of the day, every table should be created on a page. Getting my point, guys? Page, a book page kind of thing. Getting my point? So whenever you are creating any table, whether it is a small table or a big table, at the end of the day, where the table sits, guys, on a data page. Okay. So what is the size of the page? Page means every page should have a size, right? Page size is 8 KB. What is the size of the page? Page size is 8 KB. Shanmukh, if my table is big, if one small 8 KB page is not sufficient, then SQL Server will add one more page, guys. Like this, if your table is increasing, if you are inserting the records, if your table size is increasing, SQL Server will keep adding 8 KB page, 8 KB page, 8 KB page, like that. Depends upon your transactions will add, guys. Like this, 8 KB pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and 3 more, okay. Total how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So collection of 8 pages is called
Extent.
extent. So like this, you can see what is extent, guys. It's a basic allocation unit. Don't confuse here. Storage unit is different. Allocation unit is different. Okay. Extent is a basic allocation unit of SQL Server. Okay. Extent is nothing but basic allocation unit of SQL Server. And another definition is there. Collection of 8 data pages. 8 data pages is called one extent. Collection of 8 data pages is called one extent. What is extent, guys? Extent is nothing but it's a basic allocation. So can you tell me what is the size of the extent? Page size is 8 KB. What is the size of the extent?
64 KB.
64 KB. Why? Because it's a collection of 8 data pages. 8 data pages. Each page size is 8 KB. 8 into 8, 64 KB. So SQL Server will allocate an extent when you are creating a table. SQL Server will allocate an extent to you guys. If I'm creating one small table, create table name employee, create For example, I'm creating a small table. Create what I'm creating a table. What table it is? Employee table. Okay, so table means table will have columns, right? I'm going to add one column, employee ID. So you have to tell what kind of data you are going to insert in this column, right? So the data type is integer. So if you are creating this table, where this table will be created, guys, at the end of the day, where this will be created at the end of the day? On a page, right?
Which
At the end of the day, it will be created on a page. Where the page will be stored, guys? In the extent, right? So SQL Server will allocate an extent for this particular object. Object is nothing but a table, guys. SQL Server will allocate an extent. Hey, DBA, you're creating one table. Okay, chalo. You should have a space. You should have a platform, right, to create the table. Okay, take this space. This space is located in the so and so extent. Okay, take this extent. If this is not sufficient, while inserting the records in the table, if the 64 KB extent is not sufficient, SQL Server will allocate one more extent. SQL Server will allocate one more extent. If that is also not sufficient, it will allocate one more extent. Like that, it will keep allocating. That's how the file size will increase. If you are having millions of records, that's how it is going to increase. Millions of records means don't think immediately SQL Server will allocate 1 GB, 2 GB, or 1 terabyte to the table. No, slowly one by one, each extent will be added to the table. Depends upon the requirement it will take, guys. So you know, right? Generally, if you go to any hotel, it will generally we can see one quotation: "Don't waste the food and all." How much you want? Let us know. We are going to provide. Right. In the same way, to store the storage, to save the storage, whenever there is a need, then only SQL Server will add the extent to the existing table. Getting my point, guys? Are you getting my point? Any questions here?
Can we see that it was added? Is there in a command?
No. Why you are going to add? Nothing. It will be taken care by the database engine automatically.
the back-end process,
Yes,
how the data is stored.
it's an automatic process. You don't add. Why? Because hundreds of databases will be there, thousands of files will be there. Okay, thousands of tables will be there. How many tables, how many extents, how many pages you are going to add? We have to keep all our DB activities aside and you have to keep adding the pages. That is not our work. Database engine will do it by its own automatically. It is an internal mechanism that you cannot see even.
But or it will be one file or it will be multiple files.
Will be discussed. Generally, when you create a database, you will get one data file, one log file. A combination, you will get it. If one file is not sufficient, you can add second data file. That will be discussed. Okay, don't worry. So as of now, is it clear, guys? A page extent, is it clear?
Yeah.
Everyone. Okay, so inside the instance, what we will have? A database. Inside the database,
File groups and log file.
correct. Inside the file groups,
Extends.
Will
inside,
be data files.
inside the file groups, we'll have data files. Inside the data files, we'll have extents. Inside the extents, we'll have pages, guys. Page is a basic storage unit of a SQL Server. So if you are creating even a small table also, SQL Server will allocate 8 KB page to you. So whether you are using it or not, SQL Server don't check. It will immediately allocate 8 KB page. Shanmukh, I just created a small table which is 1 KB. I have enough space is there. 7 KB space is there. Can I create one more table in that page? Is it going to allow us, guys? Is it going to allow us?
No.
The answer is no. It is not going to allow us. Space is not shareable between the objects. Space is not shareable between the objects, guys. Okay, one table is equal to one page. If that page is not sufficient, SQL Server will add another page. But if that page is free, you just created this table, but you haven't inserted any records. So don't think the free space will be used for another table. No. Once you created this table on a page, this page will be locked, guys. SQL Server don't allocate this page to any of the tables, even though 99.99% free space is there. Page is not shareable between the objects. Is it clear, guys? Everyone? One table is equal to one page, minimum one page. If the table is big, SQL Server will keep adding the pages to the existing object. Table or object both are same. Okay? Is it clear, everyone? Page
No,
is not
Yes.
shareable. Yes, please. Someone is asking doubt. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not clear about this. So we are saying one table is comprises of many extents.
Correct, correct. Yes, yes. If 8 pages is completely full, SQL Server will allocate another extent, second extent. If that is also full 64 KB, SQL Server will keep adding another extent. So it will be like blocks 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB like that. Sometimes your file size will be 100 GB, 200 GB, 300 GB, depends number of records, number of transactions on the table. It will keep adding the storage to the data file. Getting my point, guys? Extent means what? Where we can see the extent in the data file only, right? So imagine if my data file size is 1 GB. Out of 1 GB, first it will allocate 64 KB to the table. If you are creating multiple tables, multiple 64 KBs it will allocate. If the table is growing, if you are inserting many records, that 64 KB will not be sufficient, right? Then this, whatever free space is there in the data file, that particular one more 64 KB block it will give to the particular table which is growing. If that is also full, SQL Server will allocate one more 64 KB block. Like that, the file size will increase.
But you also mentioned it will be locked. What is that concept?
Locked means, see, once the page is locked, that's why I said page is not shareable, right? So once while creating this table, it should allocate one page, right? While creating this table, it should allocate one page. So imagine if this table is created on this page will be locked with this table. Okay, this is not going to be shareable with other objects. I told you, right? Page is not shareable. So this particular employee table will be created on this 8 KB page. Getting, even though you haven't insert any records, still until the table is existed, this page will be locked with this employee table. If you drop this table, then only this page will be unlocked. Getting my point?
So it's like fixed size
Correct.
of the initial.
Correct. You cannot change. Shanmu, can I change the size of the page? Is it going to allow? Why 8 KB? Can we change to 16 KB? 8 KB is too small, right? Can we change it to 16 KB? Can we change it to 32 KB? 1 MB? Is it possible? No. That is the design of the SQL Server. That is the design of the SQL Server. Design kind of things you cannot change, guys.
So it's a universal truth that even they have not given any option like if they install or we can change some parameters.
No, no, no. They don't give any option to change the page size.
Okay, okay.
Look, when we monitor these, means how many extend the table is
We have different queries, DBCC login for, okay, how many pages
Okay.
a table is occupying, everything we can track it. We have scripts and all. We can, by using scripts, we can track it.
Okay.
Yes, yes, please. Yes.
So will we discuss those command also?
I'll tell you. Okay. I'll tell you. DBCC space log info. We can see the extents. Okay. Yeah. Just give me a minute, guys. Right. Okay, guys. So, yeah, what we are discussing? What is the last point, guys?
Page is not shared.
Okay, fine. Right. So it is going to add, okay, 64 KB blocks, guys. It is going to add when the table is increasing, when you're doing lot of transactions on the table. So it will keep adding the 64 KB extents, guys. Okay. So sometimes not every interviewer will ask this, but some interviewers will ask this, guys. Okay. And again, in the extents also, we have different types of extents, guys. We have different types of extents, like two types of extents we have. Two types of extents. One is uniform extent. Okay. Second one is mixed extent. You can ask one thing, Shanmukh, while creating the table, what SQL server will allocate? What item it will allocate? I mean to say what object it will allocate. Whether it will allocate a page or it will allocate an extent, guys. What it will allocate?
Extend.
Right. So, let me agree. 1 minute. Right. So, what is uniform extent? What is mixed extent? Listen carefully. Very simple, guys. Okay, very simple. Uniform extent means all the 8 pages belongs to same table is called uniform extent. Is it clear, guys? Uniform extent means all the 8 pages belongs to same table, that is called uniform extent. Then what is mixed extent? You can tell the definition, guys. What is mixed extent?
8 pages belongs to
Different table.
multiple,
That's it.
multiple table.
Yes, different tables is called mixed extent.
Mixed extent.
If you can see the diagram here, let me show you the diagram. So Control T will help you to get the tab, extra tab. Okay, Control plus T. Right, Google mixed and uniform extents. Okay, so go to images. Right. If you see, right, if you see here, so this is how the page will be, guys. This is the internals of page. Internals of page. If you go inside the page, this is how it looks like. Page contains page header, data row. Okay, whatever records you are inserting, data row 1, data row 2, data row 3, and free space, whatever free space it is, and row offset. Row offset means address. First record stored in which address? Second record stored in which address? Third record stored in which address? This is called row offset, guys. This is called a page structure, page architecture. This is. If you go inside the page, this is how it look like. Page header. Inside the page, in the page header, we can see page number, page ID, everything you can see. And some portion will be allocated to the metadata, like page number, page ID, object ID, and all will be stored in the page header. The data, whatever data you are storing, the records and all will be stored in the rows. And then it will have a row offset. Row offset means it will store the address of each record. It will store the address of each record. So whenever you are pulling the records, whenever you are reading the records, first it will check the address in the page, and then from there it is going to pull the record, guys. Okay. So, and if you go down, yeah, this is how you can see. Okay. Right. So if you see here, uniform extent, if you see here, table 1, 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 table 1. Uniform extent means, imagine table 1 is called employee table. Employee table. So all the 8 pages belongs to employee table only. That is called uniform extent, guys. And if you see mixed extent, table 2, index 1, forget about index. Index is also one kind of table only. Index 2, table 2, table 3, index 3, table 2, table 3. So different objects you can see. So mixed extent means you can see the different objects. All the 8 pages belongs to different objects. Uniform extent means all the 8 pages belongs to same object. Getting my point, guys? Uniform extent means all the 8 pages belongs to same object. Mixed extent means all the 8 pages belongs to different objects. So whenever you are creating a table, what SQL Server will do? Can anyone tell me?
Uniform.
Whether it will allocate uniform extent or mixed extent?
Uniform.
Uniform.
Pakka?
Uniform extent.
Pakka?
Yes.
Think so.
Right. Then where this mixed extent will be used? If every time it is allocating uniform extent, then where this mixed extent will be used?
When there is a relation between the tables.
No. So
Really?
whenever you are creating a new table, initially to store the data, I mean to say to save the data, to save the storage, it will allocate one page from the mixed extent initially. Now I can create a single table, create table name and employee ID. But if I am not using, if as per you, if it is allocating 64 KB extent, I am going to waste 8 pages, right? Right or not? Valid, guys? Is this valid? You just created a small table, but you are not at all inserting the records. How many pages you are going to waste? Why? Because in the uniform extent, all the 8 pages belongs to a single table, right? If it is allocating the uniform extent, if you create one table, if you are not inserting the records, all the 8 pages will be wasted, right? 64 KB will be wasted, right? Agreed,
Yeah.
guys? Agreed? So to
Yeah, agreed.
save this, initially, SQL Server will allocate a page from the mixed extent. If that is not sufficient, the subsequent allocations will be the uniform extents. Clear, guys? If it is not clear also, don't worry. This is just extra cheese. For
First time it will create a mixed extent and then later on.
It don't create mixed extent. It will allocate a page from the mixed extent. Okay, it don't create any extent. Extents will be already there. It will allocate a page from the mixed extent for the first time. If the table is growing, if that single page is not sufficient, the subsequent allocations will be uniform extent. Getting my point, guys? Is it clear?
Yeah.
To say in such scenario, if you don't insert any records, it is going to waste only 8 KB. Okay, it is going to waste 8 KB. Why? Because it is taken from the mixed extent, right? The other page can be used for other table. So it is not going to waste other 7 pages. As it is a mixed extent, it can allocate to different objects. If it is allocating the whole uniform extent for the first time, it is going to waste 8 pages. If it is allocating from the mixed extent, it is going to waste only 8 KB. So other 7 pages, 7 8 ja, 56 KB is safe. This is how the SQL Server will manage the things internally, guys. But again, don't worry. Most of the interviewers will not touch these concepts. Like if you are going for 7 years, 8 years experience, maybe they might ask you these things. 4 or 5 years experience, they don't ask you. This is like extra cheese only. Like you have to know the internals, right? How these things will be organized and all. 1 minute. My kid is crying, don't know what is the reason. Just a minute. Clear? Any questions, any doubts here, guys? Any questions? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, bro.
Yes.
Okay. So take a break, come back after 15 minutes, guys. We'll discuss other things and all, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any questions till now, guys? Any questions, doubts? So the physical hierarchy is like this. So the instance database will be created. In the databases, primary file groups and log files will be there. In the file groups, data files will be there. In the data files, extents will be there. In the extents, pages will be there. Page is a basic storage unit of a data file. Page size is 8 KB. Page is not shareable between the objects. Okay, and then extent is like a basic allocation unit. Extent size is 64 KB. So we have two types of extents, uniform extent and mixed extent. Whenever you are creating an object for the first time, SQL Server will allocate a page from the mixed extent. And if the object is growing, it will allocate the subsequent allocations will be from the uniform extents. Okay. So where these extents and pages will be created in the data files, right? So where these data files will be created in the file groups, where this file groups will be exist in the database, right? So if I want to create a table, what I should have? What is the minimum requirement? If I want to create any table, what is the minimum requirement, guys? I should have a database, right? So now let's go to this, okay? Now you can see when you expand the instance, okay, you can just use this plus symbol to expand and again click on the minus symbol to minimize. Okay. You can see the databases. As of now, you don't see any databases. Okay. So let's create, generally when you install the SQL Server, you will get system databases. Okay. Master, model, MSDB, TempDB. So these things like actually we'll have 5 system databases. 4 system databases you can see in the management studio, master, model, MSDB, TempDB. One system database, which is resource database, is a hidden database. You cannot see in the management studio. So we have a separate discussion on the system databases in the next class. We'll discuss, okay, about the system databases. Don't worry about it. So we have 2 types of databases. One is system databases. Second one is user databases. So generally, no user database will be created when you install the SQL Server. You have to create the database manually. User databases, you have to create it manually. So how to create a database? We can create a database in multiple ways. Like you can use the command query or you can use GUI also. So using GUI, both I'll tell you, okay? Right click on the databases, you can see an option called new database, first option. Select the new database. So now listen carefully. Whenever you create any database, generally you will get two files. One is a data file. Second one is a log file. What is data file? What is log file? Data file we just discussed it, right? So generally, the general discussion is data file will store the data permanently. Data file is a kind of a ROM. Okay, ROM means hard disk, guys. Hard disk, RAM, ROM is there, right? So which will store the data permanently. Okay, data file is a kind of a hard disk. Of course, it's a hard disk only, but it will store the data permanently. Okay, your log file is a kind of RAM which will store the data temporarily. Okay, in the log file, data will be stored in a temporary, guys. I mean to say, temporarily the data will be stored in the log file. In the log file, data will be stored temporarily, and then it will be copied to the data file permanently. So whenever we are getting any transactions, okay, all the transactions, first it will go to log file. All the transactions, where it will go, guys? Log file is the entry point of the database. Log file is the entry point of the database. Whatever transactions are coming from the application, okay, whatever transactions are coming from the application, so these transactions, first it will go to which file, guys?
Log file.
Log file. Imagine this is the server. In this server, we have SQL Server. Imagine. So in this SQL Server, we have database. Okay, imagine we have database. So this is the database we have. So I told you, right? So database is nothing but it's a collection of two files. One is data file. Second one is log file. Okay. So gear symbol, imagine. Imagine this is an application. Okay, imagine this is Amazon.com, something like that, an application. So whatever data that is coming from the application to the database, first where it will go, guys? It will go to a log file. Where it will go? It will go to log file. We have that chart I just created, that one. Let me open that. Which batch we discussed that diagram? Actually, that objects I'm not able to find. 1 meter. Yeah, this is the one. Right, okay. So this is the application. Imagine this is the application. Okay, so imagine we are getting the data from the application. We are getting the data to the database. So in the database, we have two files. One is data file. Second one is log file. Imagine this is the log file, guys. Okay, this is the log file. So whenever any transaction, for example, you are buying one, I'm sorry, Control Z, this is the one. No. For example, you just logged into Amazon.in, you just bought one trimmer, just a trimmer. So when you bought one trimmer, it will create a record, right? It will create an entry. So this record from the application will go like this and it will go to the database. In the database, first it will go to the log file. Why? Because log file is the entry point of any database. Whatever transactions that are coming, first it should go to log file. I told you, right? Why? Because it has to, for example, if you are going to library, you have to first fill up the logbook, right? What is your name, at what time you came, when you are going to leave, what and all books you have. It's easy to track. In case if you are not returning the books, I can easily track using this log. Okay, whatever logbook I have, using the logbook records, I can call, I can follow up, everything I can do just to get the books again. Okay, in the same way, for the extra safety, whatever the transactions are coming from the application, always the transactions first it will go to the log file. In the log file, the transaction will be stored temporarily. Guys, log file is only for temporary purpose. Log file is only for temporary purpose. Okay, right. So there are different terminologies. We have committed transaction, uncommitted transaction. As of now, don't worry. Commit means saving that data permanently. So if the transaction is committed, okay, then this transaction will be moved to the data file, not the whole transaction. Okay, not the whole transaction. Again, don't confuse here. Okay, this is the transaction, right? This is the transaction. So in this transaction, what is the data, guys? Can anyone tell me what is the data? This is the data.
One trimmer photos.
This is the data. Okay, so only data will go to the data file. In this transaction, this is the whole transaction. In this transaction, we have the data, right? Only this data will be stored in the data file in a tabular format. Getting my point, guys? Until this has to be written to the disk permanently, the transaction will be stored in the log file temporarily. Getting my point, guys? Until this data is going to be written to the disk permanently. Data file means disk, guys. Data file means disk. If it is storing in the disk, if it is writing to the disk, even though in the event of failure, power failure, disk failure, OS failure, whatever it is, or some suddenly restarted, still we can recover the data as it is writing the data to the disk. Until the data is going to be written to the disk, the transaction will be temporarily stored in the log file, guys. In the log file, what it will store? Transactions. Log file always contains transactions. Okay. So if this transaction is committed means save. Okay. Permanently save, like control S we have, right? If this transaction is committed, this data will be moved from log file to data file. So to manage this mechanism, we have two files. One is the log file and second one is data file, guys. Clear? Why we have two files? Is it clear, everyone? So mandatory, when you're creating a database, it's mandatory to have two files. I cannot create any database either with a single data file or with a single log file. Both files should be there. Shanmukh, you said two files. Can I create database with two data files? Is it possible? Is it possible, guys? Can I create a database with two data files?
Yes.
With only two data files. With only two data files. Is it possible without log file?
No.
Log file is the entry point. Without log, where it is going to write the data initially. Why? Because if it is directly writing the transaction to the data file, that's fine. No, it's not going to write the transaction to the data file. It has to write the only data to the data file. So where this processing will be done? In the log file. So log file has a mechanism like rollback, roll forward, redo, undo. Okay. So redo, undo kind of mechanism is there in the log file, guys. Why? Because suddenly you are writing some data to the disk. Suddenly power gone, or suddenly someone restarted your SQL server. So where is the safety to your transactions? That will be taken care by the log file using redo and undo operations. Redo means rewrite the transactions. Undo means cancel the transactions. Okay, so this is how, guys, if you don't understand, nothing to worry. Just it's a small mechanism, that's it. I'm trying to explain, okay, with the root level, and also you might can listen new words. That doesn't mean it's not at all a rocket science. Very simple, very simple. Until it is going to write the data permanently to the disk, it is going to store the data temporarily in one file called log file. Log file is an entry point, like a security check-in. Okay, so like, or else main door. So if anyone is coming to our house, they have to come from the main door, right? In the same way, always transactions will go to log file first. That is an entry point. Once the log file hardening is done, what is that? Val concept. What is val? Write ahead logging. Means what? Writing everything to the log file. Okay, val, WAL. Sometimes, very rarely, again, after if you put 6 years, 7 years experience, then they will ask this concept. What is val? Val means write ahead logging. Logging means writing everything to the log file. Why? Because it should be able to reuse in case of any failures, in case of any rollback, roll forward kind of situations. If you have the whole data, it is easy to roll back, roll forward, redo, undo. That's why always transactions first it will goes to log file. From that log file, only the data will be moved to the data file. That's why two files are mandatory for every database. One should be data file, one should be log file. If one data file is not sufficient, you can still add another data file. So data file is a permanent file, guys. Okay, data will be stored in the data file permanently. Log file is a reusable file. Again, I'm saying Log file is a reusable file. Once this transaction is completely written to the disk, the data is safe, right? Right or not? This is written to the disk, guys, data file, right? This is written to the data file. So now the transaction is safe. Once the transaction is safe to the data file, if it is written to the data file, what is the use of this transaction in the log file? Getting my point, guys? If it is written to the data file permanently, what is the use of this transaction in the log file? Then what will happen? The log file will be truncated. Truncate means what? Deleted. If the transaction is written to the data file permanently, there is no use. Why? Because we are maintaining two copies now. The data is already written to the disk, so your data is safe now. So this transaction will be deleted from the log file so that it can welcome other transactions. So that's why log file is a reusable file. Data file is not like that. Data file will keep storing the data permanently. Until you delete the records, it is not going to be deleted from data file. But log file is a reusable file. It will store until this is going to move to the data file, guys. Once it's moved to data file, that means it understand, okay, data is permanently written to the disk. My work is completed. Okay, chalo, let's truncate this transaction. Okay, truncate means it's a kind of a delete operation. I'll tell you in the future classes what is delete, drop, and truncate. We will discuss, guys. So once the data is permanently written to the data file, what will happen, guys? The transaction will be truncated from the log file. In this way, log file will be reusable so that it can welcome other transactions. Clear? Are we good, guys?
Can you just explain the roll back and roll forward one more time?
Yes. See, generally, for example, you are inserting millions of records. Okay. For example, you are inserting 1 lakh records. 99,900 records are inserted successfully, right? So now suddenly someone restarted the secret. They don't know, right? Suddenly someone restarted, or because of some failure, some Windows guy restarted the whole Windows machine. So in this scenario, what will happen? It has to write the whole 1 lakh transactions to the log file. It has to write whole 1 lakh transactions to the log file. But suddenly someone disturbed, right? Someone restarted, right? It just written 99,900 transactions. It has to write 100 more transactions to complete the batch. So when anyone restarted this, it hasn't written the whole 1 lakh transactions, right? So what log file will do, it will cancel all the 99,900 transactions, guys. Roll back. Then again, it will start loading from the beginning. It will do a redo operation. Okay, to make sure the data is consistent. Okay, it is going to, if it is not completed, I'm saying if it written 1 lakh records, no issues. But in case we cannot expect, right, suddenly it can down, the server can be restarted, suddenly the database can be corrupted, suddenly the Windows machine can be rebooted, suddenly some power crash, suddenly some disaster, suddenly some fire accidents will be there, hurricanes, whatever it is, we have different disasters also there. So there is a chance of failure here. To overcome that failure, we have redo and undo process. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fine, guys.
Yes, bro.
Okay. So don't worry, again, I'm saying, don't worry, guys. Just go through the recordings again. Mostly like today's class is theory only. Okay. So nothing to worry. But if you are like, if you are going for 6 years, 7 years interviews, definitely you can expect 2-3 questions from the topics that we just discussed. Okay. So like they might ask about pages, extents and all. If it is less than 5 years, that's okay. Some people will ask, some people will not ask. Mostly they don't ask for up to 5 years. More than 5 years, they will ask these concepts. Fine. Are we good, guys? So that's why for any database, yes, please.
One question. Someone.
Yes.
Yeah, log files is how much, up to how much we can extend?
A log file
So according to that,
2 terabytes.
So we cannot keep 2 terabytes in until commit the data, right?
I'm
We
not
can
getting
keep
your
on.
point.
No, until commit the transaction, it will be the log file, right?
Correct, correct.
So how much
We
GB
cannot,
or
that's what, we cannot keep more than 2 TB. In between, lot of commits will happen, the data will be committed, and then the same data will be truncated from the log file. So again, the free space will be created in the log file. This will use for incoming transactions.
okay, up to 2 terabyte not committed. So another transaction going to happen.
No,
So
no.
what will be the impact?
You get the error, log file full error.
So until commit happens, another
So
transaction will not be
no,
happen.
my question is, why you will wait until 2 terabytes of transactions? Can you
See,
imagine
application,
what is the, like, can you imagine the 2 terabytes of transactions, how many records it will be? Even though you're inserting millions and millions of records also, okay, it's not like 2 terabytes of transactions will be pending. Still, worst case, Shanmugh, there is a chance what you will do. Still, if it is the worst case, if 2 terabytes of data is not committed, still everything is there in the log file only, then the log file full issues you will get it. You will get an error called log file full. So it don't welcome the transactions, like incoming transactions will be blocked, application will be down.
okay. Any timestamp till that we can something like that.
See, this will be discussed in the future classes. Generally, there is a mechanism called checkpoint. Checkpoint will run for every 1 minute, for every 60 seconds. This
Okay, one third full, once full, it will.
correct. This checkpoint will
Okay.
keep, checkpoint is nothing but control S. Whatever I am typing, I'll use control S, right, to save. So every 1 minute on every database, checkpoint will run automatically. So it
And
is
it will
going to,
create the system change number, right?
correct,
Those
correct.
all,
That will
those
create
number will be added in the data file header.
correct,
Those all.
correct.
Okay,
So
okay.
this will create a checkpoint. Checkpoint. Until this point, you just write the data to the disk for this 1 minute. So the data will be committed in a minute. Whatever committed data is there will be copied to the data file. So the 1 minute data will be truncated from the log file. Okay. Yeah.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, yes, please.
Sir, you have mentioned that example 1 lakh insert. No? So for that, do we need to use begin transaction?
Correct, correct. Begin tran commit. Like depends. Some people what they are going to do. So initially, if we discuss, you people will confuse. Most of you will be confused. So we have different. I mean to say 2 types of transactions: implicit transactions, okay, explicit transactions. Okay, explicit transactions. So implicit transactions, explicit transactions means generally every transaction. Now this is a transaction, right? When insert into table, yeah, this is one transaction. So whenever you are running one transaction, generally SQL Server will add begin tran and commit at the end of each transaction. Okay, so that means this transaction will be committed immediately. If you are running this single transaction like this, SQL Server will add begin tran and commit for every transaction. But if you are running in batches, okay, for example, you are running in batches. So this transaction after 10 transactions will be committed. Okay, so some people they will have a habit of like 10 transactions, 100 transactions, they will commit it. So that every 100 transactions, it will commit the data to the data file directly. If you are not running begin tran and commit, you just started begin tran at the first record, and after 1 lakh record you have commit, then those 1 lakh transactions will be in trouble. Getting my point? Someone asked. Why? Because the commit will run at the end of the 1 lakh transaction. So until then there is no commit. So if there is no commit means it will create a problem. I mean to say, if something goes wrong, there is a problem to the whole 99, whatever committed transactions are there, there will be a problem for the like completed transaction. So again, they are going to be rolled back, and depends upon the status, it will be roll forward, redo.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Data files.
Sorry.
limit for like you mentioned that log.
Log file is log file size is 2 terabyte. Data file there is no limit. Depends upon the storage you are going to add. Only for log file we have a limitation of 2 terabytes. Data file can be 3 terabytes, 4, 5, 10 terabytes data files also there. Only for log file we have a limit of 2 terabytes. Okay.
Can we put multiple files on multiple drive for the?
Yes, that is possible. Will be discussed in the next class.
Okay.
We can create multiple files. Why? Because we have different types of drives. MBR partitions, GPT partitions. So if it is MBR partition, again the maximum disk capacity is 2 terabytes. So Shanmukh, you said like the data file there is no limit, but my drive size is maximum 2 terabytes. What if my database size is 4 terabytes? How you are going to manage? You can add one more file in another drive, extra file.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Again, these things will be discussed in the next class. Yes, please.
Yeah, this commit and this one will be and full recovery, right?
Yeah. Depends. Again, don't touch the recovery models now. Okay, that discussion will be completely changed. Okay, so let's slowly grab them into the track. Okay, so now as of now, this is the condition. The recovery models will discuss more once we are comfortable. Okay.
Okay, that's what I got out. Like, you're going to later.
Yes. Any other questions, guys?
Shanmukh, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you are telling like from the application so coming records coming from the application type. Application. It is from into log file, right? After that it will get to disk file.
Correct, data file. Yeah.
Okay. In the middle of the application log file time, the system is down. Like
that's why, see, until the transaction permanently moved to the data file, the transaction won't be truncated from the log file. Even though, like you said, right, from log file to data file while moving something goes wrong, but it knows that it hasn't been written to the data file permanently, so log file will again store it temporarily. That's where we'll get the concept called rollback, roll forward. Okay, so you are not going to miss any data here. So once it was permanently written to the data file, then it will, the transaction, whatever it is written to the data file, then only it will be dropped or truncated from the log file. In between, if something goes wrong, okay, like from log file to data file while sending, something goes wrong, someone restarted. So as it knows that it was not written to the data file permanently, the transaction will be hold until it is going to be written to the data file.
Okay. From the application to log, in between system is shut down. It will be in queue state or
it will be in queue state. Correct. Very good. Okay, it will be in queue state. Okay, if something goes wrong from application to log, it will be application queue state. Once it's recovered, then the queue messages will be will touch the log file. Okay. Right. So now I'm not going to create the database. Again, we have to discuss some other points. Okay, we don't have time, right? So as of now, we can see creating database is like less than 1 minute work. I can give the name and I can click OK, database will be created. But internally, what's happening, you should know, right? So that's why we'll slowly explain what is this column, this group, initial size, auto growth, path, file name, everything will be discussed. Okay, in the next session, guys. Fine. Chalo, are we good, guys?
Yes, bro.
Right, I just posted everything in the chart. You can save the chart. Okay, so what is the last create table name, right? So after that,
This notes, I think this notes will be
yes, this one. Until here we just not object. Okay.
Data file is kind.
Done, yeah. Correct. Group chart and paste it. Done. Okay. Chalo. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone, and we'll connect the next weekend, Saturday morning, 7 a.m. IST. Okay? For
But
UST
it can be
people.
seen this video.
Yeah, will be uploaded. Will be uploaded. Will be uploaded in a while. Mostly like we'll upload, like it will take some time to process the video. So once this class ends, it will take some time to process. Once it's processed again, it will take some time to load into the YouTube. Okay. So that's why it will take time. So tomorrow these videos will be available. So yesterday's recording will be, we have already uploaded yesterday's recording. Morning and evening class is pending that I am going to upload tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week or mostly next week onwards, the mechanism will be changed, guys. Mostly from next week, I'm planning. So we'll move to a different platform. Okay. So there, once the class is completed, from there itself, you can access the recordings. Okay. Chala? Yeah. That's it for now, guys.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shanmugha, next week classes there Diwali.
Hello, Shiva.
Ah,
Yeah, tell me, Shiva, what happened?
next week classes there.
Yesterday class is there, yeah.
Next week.
Next week, yeah. Next week we have the class, Saturday morning, 7 a.m. IST.
Oh, I think Diwali.
Deepavali, the same link. As of now, same link. As of now, same link, guys. Deepavali is on Sunday, right?
Sunday.
Sunday, yes, sir.
Maybe we can skip Sunday evening, okay? You want me to skip Sunday morning also? You want to go to crackers, Sai and Tapakai?
No.
Right. Okay. So let's discuss this on Saturday. Okay. Saturday we have the class. Sunday we'll plan whether morning and evening or evening. Okay. We can plan it on Saturday. Okay. Depends upon your opinion. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys. We'll connect again on Saturday morning, 7 a.m. IST. Thank you.
The same link, right?
Same link.